G'day guys, welcome back to another video. So in this particular video I'm just going to be having a look at some of the things that I'm going to be doing in the future. And what I'm talking about is some of the videos, some of the work that I'm going to be doing, some of the DIY stuff and all the rest of it. So one of the big things is electrical. So what I've done is I've gone out and I've started to buy a lot of my electrical gear basically for my roughing. So let me just explain something there. I typically use terms that we use in the construction industry quite a bit. So the rough-in is when we start putting all of our cables in, getting all of our cables and conduits in, our cable supports and everything else to make sure that we've got, you know, our cable management systems in place. Then we start pulling the cables through and get them into position. That's our rough-in. And then we do our fit-off. Our fit-off is when we come along and we start adding all of our switches, our bilge pumps, our electronics and all the rest of it, and get that working. And then basically at the very end we have what we call our testing and commissioning. So basically we'll be going through, like I was saying, we'll do our fit off, we'll test all of our switches, we'll make sure everything's right. I've got different switches. So these switches here, as you can see, these are the blue switches. I've got 6 gain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 switches and each of those. And then I've got my fuse boxes, same deal. I've got Blue Sea again. I've got momentary switches. There's the big reason for my momentary switches is what I want to be able to do is make sure that when I jump on the boat I can turn my bilge pumps on and off without getting down there and pulling up the float switch to turn them on. So I got momentary switches. So pretty much as that suggests, we've got a toggle which is on, we've got off, and then we've got the momentary off, on, off, on, off, on. So hold it on to run the bilge pump for a little while, get some water out of there if I want to, and then I'll let it go. And what that does is it's just like a safeguard. If I go down to the boat and I notice there's water in there and I just turn it on, if I do an override or something else, and I turn it on and I forget about it, leave it on, then I've potentially got an issue on my hands. So I've decided to go with the momentary switch. So that's it. The other things that I've got, I've looked at, I've got my Ancor marine grade crimps. Am I going to be using those? I haven't made that decision. These are quite hard to get in Australia. I don't know why that is. Don't know what the issue is there, but the Ancor stuff, I've been chasing it all over the place. You can get it in the smaller quantities and everything, but I want a fair chunk. Comparing those to some of these, I was having a look at those and trying to work out, are they suitable for the marine industry? Can I use these in my boat? So I'll have a look at those at a later date as well. Transducer. So I've got one of my transducers sitting here ready to go. Then I've got lots of goodies. Lots of goodies. Underwater marine lights. I've gone with the Lumitec Quattros. And I've gone with these for a reason. What I want to be able to do is obviously change the colour of lights. Lights, in my opinion, are great fish attractants. Great for when you're trying to attract, especially at night obviously, squid and different bait fish and everything else. You can change the colour, control the lighting and everything else from the electronics that I'm going to be having on board. And I'm going to go right into that at another time. Yep, more switch panels, and I've got heaps of them. Labelling tool, and use this labelling tool for any of the labelling that I want to do on the boat. Great little device. Put clear heat shrink over the top of it or whatever. So that's going to be used as well. Something that I nearly forgot to show you guys is the Ethernet cable. So basically what I'm going to be doing is running an Ethernet cable between the flybridge and the rear deck, so that I can have two different displays. One display up on the flybridge, one display down on the deck, so that I can have a separate display down there and see what I'm doing as I'm steering the boat, because I'm having a separate helm station on the back deck itself so that I can control the boat from the deck. So very, very important. This is a high-speed data cable. Very important to keep these nice and clean, and what we don't want is any of this sort of horrible oxidation or anything else getting into the cables. So I decided to go with a fully sealed unit. I decided not to make one myself, not to even bother. So these look like a very good quality, and that's something else that we're going to go into and we're going to talk about at a future time why they're so important. What is the Ethernet for? Why can't we use NMEA 2000 for a lot of our high-speed data systems? Different protocols. Okay, so there we go. And that's pretty much my electrical stuff for now. I'm going to be doing heaps of videos on how I'm going to be wiring the boat, how I'm going to do my crimps and my connectors and everything else, how I'm going to protect everything, what type of heat shrink I'm going to use. That's something that we did, was big test to have a look at the difference between, the idea was originally to have a look at the difference between tinned copper and normal copper wires in the marine environment, and all I did was I threw it all into a bucket of water to see what the outcome would be. I was quite surprised by what I actually saw and what I actually found, but it made some very clear distinctions for me moving forward and what I'm going to use on my boat. As you can see, they look pretty ordinary right there, and some of the connectors, same sort of deal. There is another video going to be coming up where I'm going to be going through all of this. I'm going to edit it out a bit. I made it too long. I've got to basically get rid of all the rubbish, all the crap, and get rid of it. So I thought, oh well, I'll do that a little bit later. But very, very important. This is one of the most important things that I can think of in my boat anyway, is making sure that the wire systems, the crimp systems, the connections and everything else are marine grade and they're quality systems. And the reason that I point that out, yet another video coming up. So what I'm going to be talking about in that video is clean power, how we achieve clean power, how important it is to have clean power on a boat. So we're going to go through that as well. And this is something that's very important in that particular scenario, is we want good connectors, good copper, good tin copper cable or whatever, good heat shrinks and all the rest of it to make sure that we can maintain our clean power systems. Very, very